Hey, what's up, everyone? Hope you guys have enjoyed your holiday. Hopefully, you got some days off from work or from school. Even better if you got some time in for gaming. I was able to complete a few games that I've left uncompleted, me personally. Most notably, I was able to complete A Plague's Tale: Innocence recently. Great game with a great story. I'm now playing through The Witcher 3. I know I'm a little late with that, but hey, I'm really enjoying that too. Definitely check out those games if you're interested in those kind of story-driven narrative games. But let's get to the point of the video. The purpose of this video is to spark a discussion on the loot shooter genre in general. Now, it doesn't really matter if the game is called a loot shooter, a loot Diablo, a looter slasher, whatever they want to call it. If the word has looter in it, then you know what kind of category this game is going to be in. You know you're going to be in for a grind. They're all in this category, and I believe all have fallen for the same traps in game development. Now, whether they get out of those traps or not is all dependent upon the developer and whether the community is really going to stick around until that developer figures it out. But game developers need to make sure their looter games have the following criteria in their game design. And looter gamers need to avoid games that don't really have the following options. So what are those options? Well, let's get into them. So the first option I would say is that a developer needs to come out with an interesting take on the same loot grind formula. It needs to be different, unique, but still provide the same experience. Now, although their game may be different from someone else's looter game, it still has to have the same hooks that keep a certain kind of gamer interested in spending hours upon hours on their content. If you develop a good game mode that will take limited content and still make it feel fresh, then you can get these gamers to keep playing that same repetitive content and not have it feel like keep playing repetitive content. And how do you do that? Well, you include rare items, rare weapons, rare gear that improves the player experience, but you make that loot reasonably attainable, not like it takes you 5 days to finally get a piece of loot that is just mundane, doesn't look cool, doesn't do anything that you wouldn't get if you just went to a vendor and bought the same thing. You have to mix it up, I think. And so it's about creating reasonably attainable loot that can be attained in a variety of different ways. You have to mix it up. Have some of those items only attainable through long quests with multiple steps. That's a way to do it, but not everyone likes that. So while that's a good way to do some of the more epic items that you may have others be attained through random drops from hard to kill enemies. Also make some a reward for achieving a certain rank or hitting a certain level. There are different ways to do it, and not just all putting all your eggs in one basket and all having it be one way, because not everyone likes to play a looter the same way. This provides variety in how you attain loot, makes the loot grind easier, and makes it so all gamers who enjoy attaining that loot can do so in the various ways that they enjoy playing your game. Next up, I would say is the really difficult part is making a gameplay loot with rare, interesting loot and not have it be too grindy. Not have it feel like a chore. It shouldn't feel like work. We all go to work. When we're done with work, we don't want to go to a second job. Your community shouldn't think about all the daily and weekly activities they need to complete in order to stay current with the game. That's a chore. That's a job. But that's exactly what most loot shooters make players feel. And that is when players start to check out. Anthem is a great example of this. Anthem came out with some actually fun gameplay, kind of a weak story, especially for a BioWare game. But the biggest issue Anthem had and still has is the game does not properly reward players for completing difficult content. We had Travis Day, former director on Diablo 3, actually come out on Reddit and speak about this, about how the difference between Grandmaster rank 1 difficulty and Grandmaster rank 2 difficulty was too high, and it just made no sense to even do Grandmaster 2, and then yet and still your loot drops are completely worthless. there's no purpose in doing that kind of difficult content if the rewards to it doesn't equal out to the kind of work that you put in. Anthem had a lot of issues. I mean, it also didn't allow you to change weapons and gear mid-mission, which is something that every looter can do. This also didn't provide a coherent way for you to see how well your builds work. But the biggest problem is all the gear looks the same, and the best of it has an extremely low drop rate. The Anthem community has complained about this since the launch of the game, and BioWare has failed to address that issue since launch. Whether it is their difficulties with the Frostbite engine or through simple lack of understanding, those pleas from the community have been ignored, and the active player count has plummeted. Another example is Division 2. Division 2 launched with really good reviews and a way more fleshed out in-game design than the previous game, but not too long after launch, the Division content creators complained of issues with the new Dark Zones. They were just basically really watered down. A PvP being just not the same exciting, tense experience that it was with the first game. And something that was a strength of the previous Division game, build diversity, now being a weakness. You basically just would build one build that will work in every single activity, because skill power was completely worthless. It took them months to finally address why skill power was worthless. And to fix that, it should have took a short period of time to realize that throwing out a turret or using the drone was pointless. It did very little for the game experience when those skills didn't do anything for PvE or PvP. Those issues paled in comparison to the year one content for the Division 2. They marketed it as free content for the community to enjoy, but all of it was small story missions with little to no substance. The most interesting one, going back to New York to take on Agent Keener from the first game, was left to last and delayed to 2020. 90% of the Division content creators have already jumped ship, and the Division active users is the lowest that it's ever been. Even worse than the Division 1 update 1.3 time period, where that game was at its lowest. It's even lower than that right now. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Massive Entertainment not continuing to create modes like Survival and Underground in Division 2 is a major mistake, and one of the main reasons why the Division community has moved on to other games permanently. And about moving on to other games permanently and how to get your gamers back onto your game when you drop new content. This next part is extremely important, and it's a trap that every looter has fallen into. You cannot prevent players from leaving your game. They're going to leave. It's a natural process in the life cycle of your game. The goal of getting players to play your game indefinitely is a goal that will always be out of reach, and your developers will fall behind before the player base ever feels like there is too much content to consume. You can spend a full year developing new content update, and then your community will largely chew through that full year development content in just a few weeks at the most. Stop putting most of your focus on keeping players doing repetitive content daily and focusing more on making sure that content that you provide for them is rewarding. If a player leaves your game frustrated with the risk versus reward, they are less likely to return to your game for the next content update than if they left the game with a brighter outlook. It's okay if a player feels like they've achieved all that they could with the game. They built the perfect build, completed all available content that they're interested in. That's fine. That overall good feeling they have when they turn their focus on to a different game before leaving will still be there when you announce new content and they think about returning. They're going to think about how good they felt with their perfect build, how good they felt when they completed all content. They're going to want to come back to do that again with your new content. They'll return because they are expecting the same end result as the first time, a good grind for good loot and a satisfying experience. But if they left you bitter or frustrated, those same feelings will return when you announce new content. You announce new content and they're like, I'm not playing that again. Just grinding and grinding for no reason, for no good loot. And those players are less likely to give you a shot unless you also announce with your new content that you're also changing to make the player experience better. And then you have a limited amount of times before you can actually pull that card before people just don't believe you anymore. You keep saying you're going to change, but then you don't change, right, Bungie? See, that's how it works. When people say we're making the game better, we're listening to our community, but then the more you say that and the less you actually make any changes, the less effective that becomes. So that's my video. A little bit long-winded, but hey, I got into a little mood with it. What do you guys think about where looters fall short and what they need to do to keep their communities happy? Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you liked the video. Hit the dislike button if you disliked it. It's all good. And hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this. Peace.